like anybody in golf, I keep track of the U.S. Open and everything that's going on. And this year is especially interesting to me because of what's happened at Pinehurst, and with the renovation there and the restoration of how they took it back to the period of Donald Ross and removing the grasses around the edge and the sandy waste and all of that. Because classic restorations are not unusual. They're common and they're usually well done, and I think they're usually well received. But rarely do you see the infrastructure of the golf course restored as well. And what I mean by that is Pinehurst, usually you do a restoration, you modernize everything. Pinehurst took sprinkler heads out and irrigated less turf, and we're seeing a U.S. Open golf course with 500 irrigation heads, which is unheard of, and in my opinion, a good model for moving forward, because usually it's quite the opposite, and we see things overdone and things added, and well, they wanted to restore a look, and by restoring that look, they were also willing to let the look be complete with the edges of the golf course burning out, or if it's dry, and so it'll play like it's supposed to play. So I'm just really excited to see how the tournament unfolds. What makes it special, what they've done there, is they've let the water dictate where the edges of their golf course are going to be. Now, I don't have anything to do with what they did there, and I didn't work on the golf course. I wasn't part of the renovation. I'm a fan of golf, and obviously I'm in the golf business, and I do irrigation work, and so it's very interesting to me to see the courage they had to let the golf course really go back to a prior look, and to let it go back to the way it's going to play. So we're going to have 35, 40-yard wide fairways. They're going to be kind of burned along the edges, and the edges are just wherever the water goes, and they're crumbly and they change, and you're going to have players shooting for one side of the fairway or the other, which is what a lot of golf used to be. And so you might have a left pin, and the player might try to hit it up the right side, or vice versa. And the U.S. Open's typically this little ribbon of fairway, and you just hope to hit it, and then you hope to hit the green and not make bogey. And I think Pinehurst is I just hope it's dry and everything. But I'm just so impressed that they were willing to take that approach, and to cut the waterway back and to make it work that way. And I think it's a fabulous message to the golf world. That's what excites me about Pinehurst, that's going to be what we're going to be looking at. The golf world for 2 weeks, back-to-back opens, are going to be looking at that, and they're going to be they're going to be talking about it, and I think that is what we have to talk about, because it's sustainable. And what has happened in the past, the overspending on construction, the overspending on golf maintenance that don't have anything to do with the game, I think that is going to become a thing of the past in most cases. I had first met Mike in 2000. So and we had stayed in touch a little bit. I met him at a Golf Club Atlas event, and I got to spend some time with Mike, and I really liked his ideas on golf, and I knew about his aerospace background. He was an aerospace engineer. And I sent him an email, and he answered my question. He said, "Don, by the way, this guy called me. He is this big cattle rancher down in South Texas on the coast, and he wants to build a golf course, and he's hired me. You want to come take a look at it?" And yeah, I do. The piece of land he picked had a nice little creek through it for drainage and things like that, but it was basically flat and unremarkable. And he only had a few instructions. He didn't want to lose any balls, but he wanted it hard. And so that's not a normal thing, because most of the time difficulty is about narrowness and things like that. So he did, and the only other constraint he had was he wanted a house on the property. We had to build the lake to build the hill that the house sits on to get it above the storm surge. Originally, Mike was going to design it. I was going to be the golf course superintendent. We were going to hire a construction company to build it, a very traditional manner. And he started to get these bids in from construction companies, and he called me over to his house for a beer, and he's like, Don, you know, I don't see why we should spend this much money building a golf course. And he's like, why don't we build it ourselves? And I said, well, that sounds good to me. So he had excavators and dozers and equipment and some men and manpower, and so he just said, you know, start building it, and if we get stuck on something, we'll get help. And we just kept going till we finished. We took longer to build the golf course than might be normal, but it made it better. And the amount of money you spend to hit a date is money that I don't think you ever get back. Maybe you did in the heyday of real estate and you sold 100 lots and people were lined up to buy them, but those days are gone. And to do that now is crazy. And when we built Wolf Point, you know, we got some holes done, and he started playing those holes. And he didn't care. We had 6 holes done. He'd play them 3 different ways, three times, and play different sets of tees. And then we got 9, and then we had more, and we finished the golf course that way. Mike and I worked together on everything, and it is unusual for a superintendent to be so involved in the design aspect of everything, in the shaping, in all of that. But I think they should be more involved in other projects. You know, the thing about not losing any golf balls but making it really hard, to us that meant a course that was kind of like St. Andrews. You know, you can't build St. Andrews in South Texas. You know, it's not Scotland, it's not the soil, you don't have the climate, you don't have the culture. So, but we knew we wanted it to play like that, to feel like that, and we wanted to be able to take care of it practically. And so Mike and I worked hand in hand from the beginning to the end. And I think I helped him, you know, with the design thing, and I think he helped me with the maintenance program. And we initially had someone that was helping us with the irrigation design, and we just felt like that's what we were obligated to do. They kept coming back with this system. You know, it rains 50 inches a year where we're at. I'm not even sure that you have to irrigate the fairways, you know. So we're saying, you know, we want 85-foot spacing. We just want a few heads. And we kept getting this design back with perimeter heads, like we were in Phoenix, and 60-foot spacing and ungodly amounts of money. And we're just like, we're not doing that. And so we did our own thing. When you go play a golf course, you don't think about how far apart the sprinkler heads are. You don't think about what mowers they use to cut the grass. You don't care if it's a gang mower or a $100,000 fancy mower. You don't care. You just care, is the grass nice? Is the turf good? Does the course play well? We also worked real hard with the site. This is a heavy soil. It's clay soil. And we found some sand, and we mined some sand. But really, even the sand was kind of like a sandy loam. And it rained a lot during construction. And we learned a lot watching it rain and how wet things stayed and the heavy soil. And we knew if we had any chance of getting the course to play like we wanted it to play, that we had to find a way to move water fast and get it off the golf course. And so when you look at pictures of Wolf Point, you see all this stuff. You know, lots of undulation and bump and edginess and things like that. And people usually think that's just, we tried to make it look cool. Well, we did. But what that does also is it gets rid of water fast. We just really funneled water in a hurry, and at the same time tried to make it look golfy. And it looks a little, I've had a couple people say it's a little crazy, and I think it's great. And I think most people think it's great, but it's highly functional. And that was something of Mike and I working together. Mike didn't draw that up. And that's something, we're on site, we're watching it rain, we're seeing what it's like, and we're like, you know, we've got to, if we're going to meet our goal of having a firm, fast golf course in South Texas, we've got to get creative here. The strategy at Wolf Point we had this wide golf course, and going back to wanting it to be challenging, you know, we wanted it to matter where you were at in the fairway. And at the same time, we're trying to be practical, and we're trying to build the golf course with local materials as much as we could. and we're trying to be practical with the maintenance budget. For it to matter where you're at in the fairway, the greens had to have contour. They had to have slope. You know, maybe the green's shaped like this, and when the pin's over here, you got to be on this side, and or whatever. But it had to matter where you're at in the fairway. And to do that, the greens had to be firm, and they had to have a lot of slope. Well, that also played into the fact of using local sands, because the sand we used to build the greens was not a high perk sand, and it wasn't going to have great internal drainage, so it had to have great surface drainage. And severely sloped greens drain really fast on the surface. And when you have a severely sloped green, you can't cut it short because then it's not playable. So we were hitting all of our goals of adding strategy, of not needing to import greens mixed material, and of being able to practically maintain the greens, and that we didn't have to have them rolling 12. As long as you've got good grass on it and they play well and they're firm, who cares what the sand is that's underneath them? And so we used that at Wolf Point to try, you know, the severely sloped greens. We felt like it helped us in a number of areas from an expense of construction and maintenance, and also the playability. I think Wolf Point's sort of developed into a kind of, I call it a cult classic. A lot of people know about it. I think more people know about it than we might even consider. The disadvantage of Wolf Point in its present, the way it's, you know, the exclusivity of it, is that Mike doesn't get as much recognition as he should. I think Mike Nuzzo is phenomenal. The disadvantage is that he doesn't get the recognition, but the advantage of Wolf Point's present situation is it's like a lab for us. You know, I get to take my theories and find out if they hold any water or not. You know, I talk about this sort of maintenance or that sort of maintenance or this sort of irrigation or whatever, and then I get to go do it. And, you know, I actually think most of it works.